I come with a prediction. You can call it bold. Bring receipts and comments months from now, a couple years from now, when you come out of your doomsday bunker and blow the dust off your laptop and somehow find a cell signal in the one remaining Starlink satellite that's orbiting the Earth, and you're able to pull down some remnants of some cell signal, and you can go to this video and make a comment and say, Chris was right. Now, I don't have to be right, but here is something that is going to happen. And this is not going to make sense for those of you that are out there playing with the free versions of AI and you're like, it's stupid. And I'm like, yes, I agree. It is stupid. It's so dumb. It's hallucinating and it's idiotic. And how can people think this is of any substance? And whatever it is, a friend told me 3.9% of, I think it was American households have a paid for AI tool. Here's what we're doing right now. We're doing a series on AI. Welcome to YouTube Live, Lunch with Chris. Noon here in the East Coast. You may be on the West Coast enjoying breakfast or mountain time. I've got my coffee here. I didn't get it into our branded mug. Full right before Bob Evans, show sponsor. Not really. But what we're doing in this series right now, YouTube Live, Lunch with Chris, is we're talking about AI. And we're not here to train you in the prompts. We're not here to train you in how to use it. That's not what we do. It's not our lane. And as I walk through this with you, I think you're going to have some new thoughts. I think I'm going to provoke some thoughts. And as I do that, if you want to throw in the chat what's standing out, you can throw questions in there too. At the end, we'll do questions and we'll hit it germane to the topic or anything else you're facing. So this was February of 2026, this year. At some level, a couple of years, but a friend of mine messaged me. He's like, you really got to try this Claude out. So I started trying it out. And well, I should say this, before I started trying it out, I said, but I don't code. And he said, you don't have to. Like, I couldn't even get the box to like operate correctly in any kind of coding instance, because I just don't even know the thing to put on the front end. But for the first time, and I tend to interact through a transcription tool, I could hit a button on my keyboard and talk it out. And then all this stuff starts happening. And I remember pulling into my garage and being like, oh my goodness. I mean, I move fast. I like to go to the future. I want to be standing there waiting for the future to come to me. I've been like that as long as I can remember. I have home video footage of me recording one of my kids when she's like 7 and having her repeat after me. When I'm a teenager, I will want a close connection to you and I will trust you, even if it doesn't make sense. I don't want blind trust. But I want to facilitate a lifelong adult relationship with my kids. So when she's 7, I'm standing in the future waiting for that moment to come. And it is hilarious to watch it now as a family. That's how I'm wired up. And as this was emerging, I want to be standing there waiting for the future to come. That's what it means to really be at a zenith of influence for whatever small part you play in the world, whatever small part I play in the world. How am I in a spot? Greatest impact. And so I pulled in the garage and I did. I had this governor show up in my head and heart that isn't there very often. And I was like, do I stop what I'm doing right now? Do I stop what I'm doing right now? That's a viable alternative. That's a choice I can make. That is a selection that I can take a path on. And the reason that I was so stunned was because I was seeing what my tool, and wherever you are with it, I had replaced an assistant with what I was building out as a full agent that had loops and routines and was self-healing. I was seeing things from my AI that was like, oh my goodness, it does this, and it can do this, and it can do this, and it can initiate, and it can get to the edge. And it's not just pattern recognition. And I think that a description of the edge of these tools is sophisticated pattern recognition. But when you see it, like, initiate something. We'll come back to this. When you see it, imagine something. It leaves you stunned. And the question for me that I've worked through in a very deep way, but it still showed up, it's like, okay, well, if it does all this, what am I for? And I think that's the thing that you can come back with receipts in the comments 1 year, 2 year, 3 years from now. Because if you do work at a computer, if you are involved in any way in knowledge work, if you don't have that question yet showing up at the forefront of your mind and heart, it will at some point. Because if it can do this, what am I for? And I know for some of you, you're going to have to just like take the ride with me for the next 10 minutes, because you really wonder, like, I've interacted with the free version or maybe the $20 a month version, and it's pretty stupid, Chris. You're not seeing what's possible. Once you start to see what's possible, you will come to a place of conviction at some level of like, oh, what? And here's the way that some of my convictions have showed up. I can have a better conversation with AI than 97% of humans. 97. And we back this up in the research paper we released. We just released it. You can go to 3%shift, spell all that out.com, and you can get the research where I walk through the 4 longest studies that have ever been done on how adults grow and develop to show you most people in their minds never graduate beyond what they were told, what they were trained to think, how they were trained to believe and behave. And that number is like 58%. And there's a 30% plus number that gets to a reactive thinking. I'm not that. I'm not that. And they don't really know who they are. There is a convergence zone of about 3% of adults who really learn to be in that place that the mind is free of the looping treadmill of insecurities that cause them to do things for their own validation, to show up too big or to show up too small. Those 3% of humans are where the best conversations occur. Now, even if that human you may be connected to on a team doesn't live in that state perpetually, I don't live in it perfectly, but I live in it perpetually. Even if they don't live in it perpetually, they can still have moments where the sun shines through and parts the clouds, and there's a real conversation that happens. But I'm blown away by the conversation I have with AI because it doesn't hedge its bets. It's not, well, mine doesn't. Mine doesn't flatter. It's been trained not to, because it'll rot your brain. Here's an idea I have. Nice idea. That trap of the sycophantic behavior, it's going to train lots of people to continually lead for their own validation, not impact. I can have a really rich conversation with it. And I'm just saying, like, if I could be in the car for a long drive, there's a list of names of people that I love that I would love to hang out with them and have a beautiful time with and a great conversation. But for the most part, if I can't go on a road trip with them, give me the AI. Let me talk back and forth to it. Another arresting conviction for me is that it out-executes 97% of humans. Again, based on the same research, it doesn't cut corners. It's not vague. You know what it's like when you're in a meeting and somebody asks a question and somebody says 5 things and never directly answers the question. They're not really putting their viewpoint in, and they're making a stake. They're circling the issue. You also know what it's like to be like, oh, they turned this in this way. I got to go to them and have them redo it. And they get defensive, and you got to do all these mental gymnastics and linguistic gymnastics to try to help them understand this isn't good enough. It should be better. And yet this tool will just go, got it, got it, got it, got it, got it. As many revisions as I want. And so the challenge is going to be this. What are we for? What are we for as humans? What are we here to do? A number of years back, I was in a situation where I was trying to make a big move for our family. And my way was blocked. Like everything that I was trying to do to make this thing happen kept on being a dead end, kept on being a dead end, kept on being a dead end. And it was stressful. It was tough. And in a moment of prayer, I was like, I feel like I deserve calmer waters. I've tried so hard. I've done my best. And in this prayerful moment, it was like, well, Chris, how about I make you a better swimmer? And that relaxed my brain in such a way that then I had a creative, imaginative insight that showed up as a way to get this thing done. And it worked, and we got that thing done. What has to happen for you when you're in a place that you see the situation with old, stale eyes, old vision, and you need a cataract to that circumstance. You need a new imagination. Here's what I'm saying to you today. We're going to walk through a 3-part model for the 3% shift, the difference that a human really makes in the age of AI, the edge of human leadership. Everything that can be automated will be automated. And you can't yet fully comprehend how far that's going to go. But at the end of the day, the human is still going to be necessary, essential, fulfilled in 3 capacities. And we're going to walk through these 3 capacities. Today, we're hitting the first one, Ginosco. You say, Chris, that's a nonsense word. What does that even mean? I'm using a Greek word here intentionally. So I think about things in terms of timeless wisdom. You may have heard me say this before in any of my videos, but like you look at the top 10 studies that have affected leadership books, business leadership books the most, 7.5 of them have been debunked. 7.5, the half numbers, because one of them, there was a flaw in the study. I don't look at things that like work because a study sample of 10 people, blah, blah, blah. I look at things that hold sway over the human mind for thousands of years. And Ginosco is a word in the Greek that means like experiential knowing. You know, if I'm 15 years old and my parents sit me down and they play a video for me of someone driving a car, I would go, oh, I know what driving a car is like. And you would say, no, you don't, Chris. Well, they gave me a worksheet and they taught me how to shift out of park into drive. And there was an illustration and a diagram of the pedals so I could hit the brake and I could hit the gas. And I learned all of this knowledge about driving a car. Well, the Greeks had a word for that called Oida, or different ways you pronounce it. It's Oida. It just means technical knowledge. 1 + 1 = 2. That's not the word I'm using. They had a different word for knowing, Ginosco, which is experiential knowing. That's what this means. I'm driving on the back roads of Arkansas, playing Pearl Jam's 10 album over and over and over again. And I got the windows down and the hair's blowing, or the wind is blowing through the hair I had at the time. That was Ginosco. That was an experiential knowing. There are things in your life, pain, heartaches, setbacks, wins, victories. You like know it. You just know it experientially. It's not just factual knowledge. You don't just know how to make a cheeseburger. You've tasted a cheeseburger. Here's what happens for the human mind. When the human mind has a grounded, centered, experiential knowing of themselves, the way I talk about it is a grounded, secure identity. When their identity isn't on the line, when they're not insecurely threatened or inflated by wins or losses, they're not threatened by the loss, they're not defined by it, they're not inflated by the win. You know, when you lay in the bed at 3 a.m. and you're catastrophically going through all the scenarios, and you feel like there's a threat. And it's not just that you're trying to advance something. You're so afraid of the appearance of failure. That's your identity feeling threatened. When you get the title and you're like, the title is going to fix everything, and it wears off in like a week. The people I've walked through building their companies to sale and a public exit, and they have a massive life-changing, multiple generational changing wealth. And then 6 months later, they're bored. These things that we seek to define our lives, it's like building the Tower of Babel, brick by brick by brick. We're going to make a name for ourselves. And it's not that the tech is the issue. And it's not that AI is the issue. It's what we're going to do with it. And there are going to be people that are going to look at AI as total doom and gloom and put their head in the sand. And that's stupid. Just like people that said when electricity came out, the demons are going to get on me. The reason that's stupid is because it's here. It's not going away. We're not going to be able to put it back in the box. And also, it's not going to rescue us. And there are going to be people that think that way about it. And AI isn't going to rescue you. It reveals you. If you want to go to a tool for constant validation, it'll give you that validation. If you want constant affirmation, it'll give you that. So what are you going to do to maintain, to defend, to build, to live in the human edge in the age of AI? The first capacity here is Ginosco, to imagine what is unseen. When there's a settledness within you, when you're secure in who you are and you know who you are, like what happened for me with that prayerful moment of becoming a better swimmer, in that relaxed mind, I could see a creative imagining. I could imagine what was unseen, and I had a way to go through it. That's the human edge in the age of AI. Now, if you've played with the tools at any level in an advanced way, you see that it does have the capacity to imagine. Yet it is our own creation. We made it. We imagined it. It exists. It's going to do other imaginings. But at the end of the day, it's the human reality to look at something and see what is unseen and to play the part we were meant to play. And what I've seen, and I've seen this as the internet has rolled through, and it'll even be more so with AI, is without awareness on this, we lose ourselves in the technology. I mean, would we really say that as a whole, auto scroll videos on social media has made the world a better place? No, I don't think any of us would say that. That's been a net negative. It's what we do with it. There are people I know who use it in a positive way. And the stake here, what's at stake, the claim I'm making, is that you don't give up the imaginative capacity of your mind. That Ginosco, the human ability to imagine and see what is unseen, is actually going to be more needed and more necessary than ever. Because if we can't be the kind of leaders who stay in this place of living at the human edge, this 3% shift, then what we're going to do is depend on the tool to take us to places that we haven't yet imagined, and it can only go so far. I believe it's going to imagine amazing medical combinations, creative breakthroughs in pharmacology and disease and whatever. And sadly, nefarious applications will be happening also. But if we give up, if we say, well, the car's invented, I should never have to walk again, and we don't use our legs, we lose something essential to what it means to be human. So what do I do? How do I frame this? What am I putting in place in my life to help myself? Number one, more than ever, I have to pay attention to what I'm building my identity around. If I'm building my identity around roles and relationships, getting to some place and then I'll feel whole, whatever all that is, I have to know all of that is just stacking bricks like the Tower of Babel, and it doesn't matter. That's not how you make a name for yourself. An identity is received. It's an experiential knowing. It's grounded, Ginosco. And out of that Ginosco, that relaxed mind can see possibilities that haven't yet been articulated. So I pay attention to what I'm building my identity around. Number two, I notice when my mind is afraid, when I feel a doubt, when I feel a struggle, when I feel an insecurity. I notice when my mind is afraid, because if I don't do that, I'm going to go to AI for a quick sedation, not real comfort, and I'm going to get more research so I can make that move I need to make, or I'm going to get it to justify why I shouldn't make that risk. I'm going to use it for sparring. I'm going to use it for thinking. I'm going to use it for research. But at the end of the day, the most valuable thing that I have happening in my life is where circumstances surface doubts in me, and I notice those doubts. Third, I hug those doubts. I pay attention to them because I want to know the contour of that doubt, that insecurity I'm feeling, and I flip it. It happened to me this morning, driving in to the office. And I was reflecting on a text I sent yesterday. And in that text, there was something in me that was like, oh, I just don't like how that came across. And then I started to imagine fixing it, getting understood, correcting the perception. And then I stopped and I paused and I noticed that doubt. And I noticed the lie beneath it. And I said, well, what if the opposite's true? That wasn't the wrong move. That wasn't the wrong text. Or, and it may have been the wrong text, what if I surrender and release the need to be perfectly understood and see what comes out of this? There's a million ways this can play for you. I can't, for sure, articulate it all. But I can tell you this. When you come out of the bunker and you blow the nuclear dust off your laptop and you connect to the one Starlink satellite that's in orbit and you pull down a signal and you come back to this video, you can put a comment on the YouTube video and say, yeah, Chris was right. We weren't ready. We lost our way. And I don't want that to happen. And it's up to us, you and me as humans, to imagine and not give that up, to see a way forward so that we can use this tool and not lose ourselves in it. Thanks for being here at YouTube Live today, Lunch with Chris. If you want to throw a comment in, what stood out, throw a question, we'll hang for a minute. And I hope you all have a great week. Peace.